Hey everyone, I'm Cecil Laird.
Jaime Fuego here.
And this is your horror show news with booze once again, as usual. This week was a little light on the news, you guys. So we're just going to have about 7 stories. So let's get into it. Fuego, what are we starting off with this week?
We are starting off with the death of a series that never even really got going. And I'm honestly kind of relieved because I was worried it was going to taint the brand a little bit, and who knows how good it could have been. But TNT officially said this week that their reboot of the Tales from the Crypt series is dead. It is not moving forward. They just had so many problems with getting the rights issues between the comic books and the HBO stuff, and so yeah, it's not happening. But there are new Tales from the Crypt comics that have been coming out a little bit and stuff, so at least we'll have that, and the property isn't dead completely, but nothing visual coming soon. And I guess this was also stemming from the fact that sci-fi horror block that Ridley Scott is working on has kind of taken its place in their development process.
Ridley Scott, once again, taking over someone else's project.
Bigger dick all the time with Ridley Scott. I guess when you get older and crankier in your 80s or late 70s or however the hell old he is. I didn't like Alien Covenant, so that's why I'm talking like this. But, I mean, you know, it is what it is. And like Scott Free is a great production company, so I'm sure they'll do good stuff with the sci-fi stuff. But, yeah, I'm kind of relieved because I was just worried. Not that Shyamalan's bad. It was M. Night Shyamalan developing this, at least at one point. And there was even a little teaser floating around that was immediately yanked from the internet that I've still never seen. I've only seen like the little screenshots of the weird long-haired guy with the demon eyes and the teeth and everything. But it was like one of those proof of concept things that was never for the public to see. So yeah, what's your thoughts, man? I mean, are you sad this isn't happening, or?
Yes and no. I'm always sad to see the demise, especially before it's even born, of a horror anthology series.
Premature abortion.
But I gotta say that, you know, knowing that Shyamalan was behind it and knowing it was meant to be part of this horror block, and it was never really defined, and they couldn't get access to the old John Kassir Crypt Keeper. They had to go to the original Crypt Keeper, I guess, and that's of no interest to me at all. So ultimately, you know, good. You know, maybe they'll be able to figure out the rights and do it right next time.
Let these corpses lie. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe give it. I mean, they said it's not completely dead. They left that little, as they always do in many horror movies. Is there a chance the bad guy could come back? They're like, well, you know, who knows a few years down the road if the rights issues are figured out, but we are not progressing forward with it. So, oh well. I'm not too sad about it. So.
I'm not either. So next up, we have the fact that Neil Blomkamp officially confirmed that Alien 5 is dead as dead can be.
Yes.
But that paved the way for his new District 9-ish project called Oat Studios, which we did a trailer reaction for on this very channel.
Yeah, we did.
And I believe we did a teaser reaction, but you said that they've released a trailer since.
There's a full trailer now that has some serious carnage in it, as opposed to just seeing the cool creatures, you know, like trying to domineer over the humans. And we're talking gore, my friend, like
nice
skeletons with like flesh like hunked around and so on. And I mean, it was kind of sad that Alien 5 had to die, and it was so funny in this recent interview that he did where Blomkamp was like, I love Ridley Scott and I'm going to be as respectful. He kept emphasizing how he's trying to be as respectful as possible about how the whole process went, but you can tell he's upset and he's just picking and choosing his words. But the cool thing about it is, after these Oates experimental films, he has confirmed he's working on a District 9 sequel.
Oh, really?
Which is really rad.
Is it called District 10?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, they did leave it wide open at the end of that. I, unfortunately, did not see Elysium or Chappie because of the bad reviews. Although,
I liked Elysium. Chappie was terrible.
Yeah, that's what everybody seems to do. It's got Chappie, and there's like rappers in there, you know, the Diane word guys. So, but, I mean, hey, he's a hell of a filmmaker, and I think he really did prove that with District 9, and this whole Oat Studios, you know, shorts project he's working on. He's doing his own thing. He's actually not working within a pre-existing franchise. He's being completely original, which I think is pretty dope. So
yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what the final project is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm not worried, but I guess I'm a little concerned that he's just throwing together something relatively rapidly after the demise of Alien 5, but I don't know that I even necessarily believe that. That's just an unfounded concern, I suppose.
I'm still relevant. I'm still out there. I'm doing stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Remember me? I directed District 9. I hope it's not that. But
I don't think it will be.
yeah,
So.
cool. I would love to see a District 9 sequel. Stoked about that. We are getting into now some news that it was another director who was shifting to the producer role, talking with Cinema Blend, and it was Colin Trevorrow. I can never pronounce his name properly, unfortunately, but he was talking about his collaborating with J.A. Bayona on this new Jurassic World sequel, and how excited he is about it, how it is going to be the scariest film in the entire franchise because of the fact that they're trying to just bring sensibilities from the first one like Jurassic World did, but they're actually going to bring it into the practical world. So there's going to be practical dinosaurs in this in comparison with just all CGI, like we saw in that. And he said that it's the American and the Spanish kindred spirits working together, and just how cool he thinks this film is going to be. He co-wrote the script, and he's producing, but he is not directing. He's letting this Spanish visionary that did A Monster Calls, that both of us loved so much, just take the reins, man. Are you excited about scarier than ever Jurassic World?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, that's why I go to the Jurassic Park movies, is for the scary dinosaur action. So
the very
to know
first
that
scene in the very first movie, for God's sake, scared me as a kid.
Well, exactly. So to see that that's what the focus is going to be is like, oh, finally, they're wish fulfillment on my end. So yeah, super exciting. Also to the fact that we're getting a return of Ian Malcolm as well.
Yes,
so
Jeff Goldblum.
Yep, so I'm excited to see how that all fits together. For sure.
Yeah, but also James Cromwell is going to be in there. Return of Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and we're also seeing Wong, B.D. Wong, or B.A.
B.D. Wong, yeah.
B.D. Wong, yeah. So he's also going to be returning in this as well, because we saw at the end of Jurassic World
he ski-daddled.
Yeah, he did. And yet it was weird how in that original film he was kind of a sympathetic character, and then in this one, the most recent Jurassic World, you could tell that he'd kind of maybe embrace the power and the money that can come with it.
20 years.
Oh, of course they do. Well, I mean, hopefully. But yeah, so they have a hell of a cast together thus far. We still don't even know a real title of it, but we are supremely excited about dinosaurs chewing on people.
As always. Now,
yeah.
That's it for that story. Moving on to the next one is the fact that Zach Morris, otherwise known as his real name, Mark Paul Gosselaar, has been cast in the upcoming vampire series called The Passage, as reported by Variety.
Which we previously talked about.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did mention The Passage, but we did not know that Zach himself was going to be, is it the lead or just a lead part?
He's going to be the lead vampire who was also trying to protect some girl that other vampires are after, and it's post-apocalyptic. Vampires ruling the world, kind of like Daybreaker status. It's supposed to take place over a century, 2 different timelines, all kinds of craziness.
Have we seen him do genre work before? I can't think of anything.
I mean, Dead Man on Campus isn't really genre work.
No,
but
not
maybe,
really, but it's comedy. It was a good comedy. I really like that one.
I actually love that movie. Yeah. That's a great movie. But I mean, all the other stuff he did was like NYPD Blue, and he was trying to like shed that image of being the funny
Franklin
guy.
and Bash.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, time out.
Mm-hmm.
I can do serious stuff here. Come on, guys. And yeah, maybe that's what he's going to do here. But Scott Free Productions, once again, we keep coming back to Ridley Scott in this. Scott Free Productions has done some pretty damn good things. And so I'm curious about this series being Fox TV and being a YA adaptation of a trilogy. That kind of worries me a little bit. But hey, anything with vampires, and I actually really like Mr. Morris, and so
I do too.
Yeah. Saved by the Bell is one of my favorite shows.
I'm gonna give it a try. I don't know anything about the Passage story really, so I'm just excited to see how it goes. Outside of what you just said, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's it for that one. Fuego, moving on.
Yeah, moving on to one that I think you're at least going to have some insight to impart about. So Sean Cunningham was trying to develop on the CW a few years ago another version of the Friday the 13th TV series. However, the previous one in the 80s, wasn't it? It was like an anthology show of sorts, and it didn't have or did it have
didn't have to do no, not
up?
really. It was just an anthology series. Didn't really have anything to do with Jason.
Was he not in it at all?
No, it had less to do with Jason than the Freddy series had to do with Freddy, because Freddy only appeared in like 3 or 4 episodes of that series.
But he was in that one where he had the guitar and he's jumping up and down in the classroom, which is in the current Crossing the Streams episode, which we're going to put up on Monday, which was fun. But so it didn't have anything to do with Jason. That's weird.
Not that I can recall.
Yeah, well, this new series apparently would have had something to do with Jason, and even though CW and him were not able to come to terms about finding a showrunner that he thought was ideal, and the project ended up getting put on the shelf, he is still actively pursuing it. It's still percolating, as he very, very amusingly described, and yet he talked about the vision for this show on a recent episode of the Shockwaves podcast, where he was saying that they wanted to explore not just Jason, but the way the town of Crystal Lake and the surrounding residents react to his carnage, and how there's cover-ups, how the family becomes involved, and I'm assuming the Voorhees family or the extended family and stuff like that. And so he really kind of made it seem that they had given significant thought about as opposed to just having Jason show up and kill somebody every episode, that they were really going to show just the social repercussions maybe of this killer who they can't seem to find and capture and whatever. I thought that was actually a really rad idea, and the fact that they're still actively developing it is kind of exciting. What do you think, man?
Definitely. I was bummed to hear that it was dead, right? Because we did hear rumblings of this before.
Yes, we did.
But yeah, no, to know that it's still in, or still a possibility, that's exciting, because anything to do with the Friday the 13th franchise, I'm excited about. And speaking of which, I might try and convince Fuego to do the first Let's Play with me of the new Friday the 13th game release.
Yes, which just came out at the end of May, very recently.
Exactly.
Have they fixed some of the bugs yet?
Some of them, presumably. Yep. So yeah, look for that, guys. But that's going to do it for that story. What's up next, Fuego?
Yeah, man. So the next one is going to be, we got to see The Mummy, the first entry in the officially entitled Dark Universe at this point, and I was a little underwhelmed. Then again, being a Tommy Cruise action with a little bit of horror in there, I can't say my hopes were that high. It was kind of what I expected it to be, and you can see our review of that on the channel right now.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, but they are announcing more and more plans for things beyond the Invisible Man, for things beyond the Wolfman, beyond Bride of Frankenstein, which is the next one that they are working on. Javier Bardem playing the monster, which is kind of dope. But producer Alec Kurtzman, who also directed the Mummy film, has announced that they are also going to do a Phantom of the Opera film and a Hunchback of Notre Dame film. It makes me wonder if they're spreading themselves a little thin at this point.
That seems silly to focus on those characters already.
Yeah, I know they're public domain, but they don't really fit, in my opinion, in the... maybe the Phantom does, but in the original Universal Monsters universe that they're trying to recreate,
I would think the Phantom less so than the Hunchback would fit, honestly. Yeah. The Hunchback seems like it would fit in a monster universe, misunderstood human, mistaken for a monster, or just claimed to be a monster, even though he's just a deformed, a deformed person. So I could see that fitting a little bit better than the other.
Than the Phantom?
Yeah. Well, the Phantom of the Opera, that's just a dude that was scarred. That there's nothing really. I guess there's nothing really supernatural about the Hunchback either, but. Yeah. I don't know. It's just both of them don't seem to fit. Let's just say that. How's that?
I totally agree. And it's odd, though, because they're, maybe interesting is a better word to use here, because of the fact that they're both, pseudo-love stories, right? The fact that... they are.
The Hunchback fell in love, too?
Well, yeah, he did. There
Him was and the Gypsy?
Well, he was in love with her, wasn't he?
Well, but I don't think it was
like
returned,
the Phantom
was
it? Maybe not. It's been a while since
I didn't like that movie that much.
Yeah. I just know that there was the feels involved with both of those, much more so than some of those other properties that they're trying to develop. But they've got a lot of talent in the Stark universe. The fact that they've got Jekyll and Hyde being played by Russell Crowe, I know that was one of your favorite parts of the Mummy film.
Yeah, that and all the other world building for the monster universe, the Dark universe. We got a cameo from a bunch of different things. So that was the most exciting bit.
Yeah, and I still liked Sofia Boutella, but make sure to watch our review just so we can talk to you about it properly. But as of now, I'm really wondering what if they're just kind of getting ahead of themselves with this Dark universe. We'll know at the end of this weekend when we see the box office numbers of The Mummy, especially after the way Wonder Woman crushed last weekend. Is it going to have much trouble fending off Boutella's Mummy? I really don't know, but hey, we'll see how bankable Tom Cruise is. So the last story is
I just looked at that. That's kind of weird.
It is the most amusing story of the entire week because it has continued to develop and to develop. So Dan Aykroyd, this past, it will be last weekend by the time you guys actually see this on Friday, but he was on a European TV show, if I'm not mistaken, and he basically threw Paul Feig under the bus.
Saying what?
He said that the Ghostbusters reboot, which had all those ladies in it,
and himself,
for one of the worst cameos in the entire film. I think all of the cameos by the original cast, with the exception maybe the Ernie Hudson one, Ernie Hudson,
wow.
Ernie Hudson one at the end was actually kind of funny. But the other two were just bad. But apparently, even though Dan Aykroyd was screaming the praises of this film when it was originally about to come out, probably because he's invested in the universe of the Ghostbusters and wants to develop it more and wanted to make like a male Ghostbusters spinoff with a new cast and a new cartoon and all this other shizzle. Well, after it underperformed so horribly, obviously people were pissed, and I didn't really hate it. I think you and me and Marsha Parker, we all thought it was pretty okay.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't
as
great,
bad
but it wasn't as terrible
advertised.
as a lot of people were thinking it would be. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the rage that we got on the Horror Show channel here about
terrible.
We had so many haters. But Aykroyd was like, this film was 30 to 40 million over budget. We had to do reshoots for scenes that we initially told him. We're like, hey, we're really gonna have to reshoot this. We're probably gonna have to add this. And Feig was like, nope, it's fine. We're not gonna have to do it. And then they went back and had to do them anyway. And there was just, the movie cost $140 million, and he was like, that was way more than we had initially planned. And the fact that it was so over budget, it underperformed so drastically. The backlash wasn't even something that he mentioned in this. He was just basically, and then he finished it up by saying, Paul Feig is not going to be seen on the Sony lot anytime soon. Like, he went that far.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. And then he even followed it up with some comments a few days later where he was like, he was trying to soften the blow, and he proceeded to say, he just didn't take as much cues from the originators and implying himself. And he's really the only one, because Bill Murray has washed his hands of the project. People were really shocked that he even appeared in it, because anytime they wanted to do Ghostbusters 3 when Harold Ramis was still alive, Murray hated the script, and that's why it never happened, and unfortunately will never happen with Ramis gone now. So it just really seemed like Aykroyd being a sourpuss, and just, especially ahead of Ghostbusters Day, which is June 8th, so that was just yesterday when the news airs, but damn, man, to just throw him under the bus after singing the praises of the film initially. Is the Ghostbusters franchise dead, in your opinion, at this point?
Kinda, yeah.
It's
for
sad,
now, it'll come back again, but... And again, there, a lot of girls liked the Ghostbusters, but now that Wonder Woman's out...
and I liked it.
Now that Wonder Woman's out, little girls can latch onto that instead of Ghostbusters, so I think they're going to have to rethink that whole thing, honestly.
Well, and that was something that a lot of industry peeps that I pay attention to even mentioned. They're like, yeah, there was lots of people saying, well, Ghostbusters failed because they were trying to, make women the leads, and people are so anti-women being the stars, and then Wonder Woman goes and crushes. And then they're like, oh, well, maybe we need to rethink things. And it was very ironic that these Aykroyd comments came at the tail end of a weekend where Wonder Woman destroyed the international box office and here in the States. So it's just slinging mud for no reason. But I'm sure they'll be floating around by the time you actually see this broadcast. Ivan Reitman and Ernie Hudson are doing they did a live stream yesterday for Ghostbusters Day, and there's also Feig supposed to be making a fun small announcement. There's a new VR Act 2 that they announced as well.
Jesus,
and I know you said that it was supposed to be
Act
really
1 was
bad,
so
the original
horrible.
one. Squeezing blood from a stone here, perhaps.
It looked terrible. I saw one Let's Play of it online, and it was just awful.
Boredom, huh?
Ugh, so bad.
Yeah, that's lame. Well, the franchise that I grew up adoring so very much, and not just the two films, I love the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon. That was, the boogeyman that I talked to you about on one of the first podcasts ever here that I sat in on. I'm sad. On Tuesday. It's not fun. It's not fun.
It is what it is. That's... It's what happens after a really terribly underperforming, over-budgeted, souring of a nostalgic loved property can do to people. So that's going to basically do it for this week's news, you guys. It's going to be a short one.
It's super short, sadly. I mean,
it's okay.
Sin City TV series isn't really news.
We mentioned that last week.
Well, we did. I know. I still wanted to talk about it more in depth.
Stop it.
and Nosferatu being developed or in the writer's room. Nosferatu, but then again, that's not even anything confirmed for Joe Hill.
Right. So outside of that, you guys,
we tried, but the news didn't come.
Not a whole lot this week. So we'll be back next week. I'm sure it waxes and wanes, as it were. So I'm sure it'll be a ton of new stories next week for us to go over. So for now, that's going to do it. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of this week's news stories. But until next week, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared. And I didn't drink this because I think there's dead bug bits in here. So that's not going to happen.